This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody and welcome to the show. I'm so pleased you can join me because I have a chat with the great Mike Nine Williams from Eyehategod to share with you. Now the catalyst for our chat is due to an Australian tour. Eyehategod are teaming up with GOATWHORE, playing shows across major cities in Australia in July 2024. I'll put some dates and also a link to tickets in the episode description. Throughout the conversation, Mike and I discuss his storied career, the debut, the album that many people consider their defining moment as well, Take As Needed for Pain. Some band dynamics, Mike's take on aspects of his career through questions that I feel are rarely asked of the great man. I do ask those questions here, so I hope you enjoy this chat because I certainly enjoyed meeting Mike Nine Williams. So here he is. Let's go.
Hey.
Brother, how are you?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
How are you? What's going on?
Oh, I'm good, mate. Good. Thanks for making...
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks for making the time to have a chat with us. It's much appreciated, by the way.
Sure. No problem.
How have the conversations with us Australian media, independent media types been going?
It's good.
I
like Australian people, so yeah, they're fine. Yeah, they're short. You can't get into a whole lot with these 20-minute things, but yeah, they're cool though.
Yeah. Am I the last one, or have you got someone after me?
I believe you're the last one, unless there's more he sent, but I think you're the last.
Okay, sweet. All right. Well, look, we can talk for as long as you choose to talk for or otherwise. No worries whatsoever. Whenever you want to wrap it up. I've got plenty of questions. I'm a long-time fan of Eyehategod and of yours in particular. I remember reading Metal Maniacs back in the day when you were one of the editors, actually.
Yes. For one issue, I was associate editor. They kind of made up that title for me. But I wrote for many issues. I wrote for a lot of them. But then that one issue was that they actually fired us because me and Alicia, who was my girlfriend at the time, they fired us because we were putting so much underground stuff in the magazine. They didn't like that. They wanted us to do the bands that paid for advertising and do the, like Anthrax and more Megadeth and bands whose labels were, full of money, so it was all about the money. So we started putting black metal in there, underground stuff like Neurosis and the Melvins and Anti-Scene and all these bands. And they weren't too thrilled with that, I was doing a demo column reviewing demo tapes and they just didn't see they didn't see where that was going, but obviously we do. We understand, all the people do except the suits,
Yeah. I do know that Mike and Liz and the other people there, they were really up against it. I've had a very long chat with Mike about what Mike Greenblatt, that is, of course, the overall editor there, and he told me, he gave me a lot of detail about what he was up against with the publishing company. So yeah, I can understand both perspectives, in terms of if they're paying for it, I get it. But look, for a young fan like me, reading your column was like manna from heaven. Okay. And being exposed to those bands because someone who we all looked up to, you were saying, hey guys, fellas, check out these bands here. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and we knew that, I knew people, I used to do a fanzine when I was a teenager, so like, that's what people want to hear. They don't want to read about, Dave Mustaine for the 15th time, nobody cares about that or like whatever, so we would put that stuff in, we'd review the records and stuff, but we wanted to make it more underground, We even tried to change the name of the magazine from Metal Maniacs. We wanted to change it to something more something that would encompass like more underground stuff, because we were putting punk rock in there and grind and all these things, so, but they really didn't like what I think they took it as we were trying to sabotage the place or something, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a good little, it was fun while it lasted.
Look, what I'll say to you now is, in my view, it was the most important international magazine in the history of rock and metal. Okay, now I know there's lots of fanzines out there, but your contribution and many other people's contribution made that most of us were going to trains in the city to our shitty jobs, and that was our ray of light. I remember those days really well.
Sure.
At age 20, you're sitting there, you're listening to, in my case, Immortal or Cradle of Filth or Emperor or whoever it was, and you're reading what you've written, and it felt like you were transported somewhere else. It gave us enormous positivity.
That's fantastic to hear, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Because that's what I wanted to do, but me and Alicia, we wanted to get the underground stuff out to the kids, and just people in general that hadn't heard of that stuff, So thanks. I appreciate that.
No, that's my pleasure. Yeah. Have you thought about doing something like that again?
I've written for a bunch of different online magazines, and it's saying my internet's kind of shitty right now. Online magazines, and I've written for fanzines, here and there, but I haven't done that in years. I kind of got I don't know. I came to like a fork in the road of like, who am I to be reviewing some of these bands? Like, if I don't like a certain band, I shouldn't write that they suck or something. Like, when I was younger, I would do that, and it was like, whatever. But as I got older, I was like, I don't know if I should be judging these bands. They're all trying, everybody's trying to start a band, no matter if I like it or not, So I kind of got fed up with like writing about. I'll still do interviews and stuff. I still like doing that, interviewing bands.
Okay,
because that's different from a record review.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Hey, with this trip to Australia, are we in what way, or even are we different to the rest of the world when you're standing up there on stage and you're looking out across the audience?
I mean, from the stage view, it's another place, but just something about Australia is just kind of magical to me. It's so far away, and I love the people there. I love the country. So, like, I don't know. There's something special about it for me. It's just like being there. I'm so far from home down there. It's just like, this is great, and people treat us as though we're best friends, which is cool. Yeah,
sweet. Yeah. Have you had my first awareness of the band goes back to 1996, actually. In terms of the music, I remember you being played by there's a famous, well, when I say famous, to us, hardcore and heavy metal types and black metal types, a guy called Costas Zulio on Triple J. I mean, that whole station since gone the way of the dogs. But back in those days, decades ago, he'd play Eyehategod and all these fucking unbelievable bands that we just we're back in those days, pre-internet. Where else would you go to get your music from on there? But that's where I think a lot of Australians were exposed to you. So do you feel like you've had a long association with us?
Yeah, I mean, ever since the beginning, we started getting, this is back before the internet. Like you said, we would get letters in the mail from Australia. I was one of my tape trading friends was Andrew from the band Rupture. Do you know this band?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're from Perth, I think. Real raw, hardcore, But yeah, like a lot of people from Australia would write, and the first time we went over, it was just fantastic,
What was a lot
of people knew everything.
Yeah, what year was the first tour?
Oh shit. Man, I can't even remember, to
A
be
while ago.
honest. We went to Japan for the first time in 2002, but I don't think we went to Australia on that trip. God, it's sometime maybe 2009 or something. I really don't remember. It's hard to remember the
Yeah.
exact year.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, you do go right back to the very beginning in terms of In the Name of Suffering.
Yeah.
Now, that's the landmark album for all sludge metal, really. I mean, all bands sort of, that's the beginning of the Godfather. But can you remember back that bloody far? I know it's ages ago, but how do you feel when you look back on that album today?
That album sounds crazy to me now. We had no idea what we were doing. You know, we started, we all had other bands. You know, this was our side band. Eyehategod was a side project. So we weren't really taking it 100% serious yet. You know, we were just like, let's play slow. Let's do something different, because thrash was still big in '88. Like, thrash metal was still kind of, you know, out there, and that was kind of what everybody was doing, you know. So, with some exceptions, of course, but so we wanted to do something different, and we went in the studio to do that record. We had no clue what we were doing. We recorded that thing live, like vocals and all, like. So in the way it's mixed, we had no idea how to mix anything. We just, you know, so I mean, it is what it is, though. You know, it's a snapshot of that time period of us in the beginning. So, you know, I wouldn't change it for anything. Sometimes I listen to it, if I hear it, I'm like, maybe we should have mixed it this, but then that would change history. You know, that would be weird, you know, to do that. We do some of those songs live, and they have a modern feel to them now, you know, because we're a live band anyway, you know. Playing live is what we enjoy, and that's where we sound like ourselves.
What do you think about those bands who go back and re-record a classic or a debut album?
Yeah, I know, like Suicidal Tendencies did that, I believe, and there's been a few. I don't know, man. I guess I do understand to get off like a contract with a record label, because these record labels screw you. You know, they screwed us, Century Media, in the beginning. You know, they basically own all our old stuff, because we were, like I said, it was a side band. We thought we would just put out one record and never do anything again. So they were like, yeah, we'll bring you to Europe. We're like, okay, free trip to Europe. Let's go. Sign the contract. And then, you know, we end up being together 35 years, which is insane. And all our other bands that we were in at the time dissolved their history. So it's pretty crazy how that happens. We had no idea that this would go like this, but, you know, we love this band.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, yeah. Well, you decided to kick things off again many years later in 2014 after a long hiatus, wasn't it? So what was the driving force behind wanting to get back into the studio and record new material back then?
Well, that was the thing. We after we did Confederacy of Ruined Lives, which was like 2000, the year 2000, I believe.
Yep.
We always take time between albums, because we like to just make sure we love the songs. We don't just write an album and then go on tour, write an album, go on tour. You know, we're not one of those bands. We did Confederacy of Ruined Lives in 2005. We did put out Preaching the End Time Message, but that was like a compilation of 7 inches and things like that, you know, so, and some live stuff and some demo stuff that we did. But, you know, Katrina hit, there was drug problems, there was record label issues. We finally got off Century Media back then, and just, there was lots of issues and problems. So it took us 14 years to, we also, though, in the meantime, we had done some 7 inches and some split records. And we were playing. We weren't broken up or anything. That's a thing. People think we had broken up, but we were still a band. We were just playing like New Orleans shows, playing locally. And then around 2009 is when we started like touring again, you know, after the whole Katrina thing, and members were in other cities, and it was just a mess, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. What about Take As Needed for Pain is by many measures, it's when I say your classic album, it's the album. If people are going to own an album and they're a casual fan of the band, it's probably going to be that one there. So can you share any personal insights into the creation of that album? And do you feel like as though that album is the, I'm not going to say the landmark Eyehategod album, but is the most prominent album in your catalogue?
Yeah, that's the one most people do say, that, I mean, everybody's got their favorite one because they all sound different in some way, really, most of them. But that one, it's got like all the songs that people want to hear nowadays, all the songs that became, I call them the hits, although they're not hits, but, to the fans, they're hits, they're the ones everybody wants to hear. But yeah, and that's our second album. That was the album that we learned how to write songs. The first album is kind of like parts put together here and there, like riffs, just thrown together. The Take As Needed for Pain album is like actually, well written out, I think. It's like, starting to learn more about the studio and more about how to write a song, in our style.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. What about, okay, I totally understand you didn't break up. I was aware of that, actually. I knew that things were just plodding along and then bloody Katrina hit and it smashed everything to smithereens, as we all know. But look, dynamics in any band can be complex, and I know they've been complex for you in Eyehategod. So how have your relationships with the blokes in the band evolved over the years, and what are some of the more significant challenges you feel you've overcome?
Well, as far as challenges, our drummer died in 2013, Joey, who was our best friend, and he was the drummer. There was one drummer before him, but before we recorded, so he was the drummer from the very beginning, our real drummer. So that was a big challenge, to get over that and we just knew that he would want us to keep going, So we found a drummer within like a month or so, and we just kept playing, because that's what he would have wanted. So, but that was hard, though. That was really hard for all of us. But as far as like dynamics, I mean, everybody gets along in this band. We're all friends. Me and Jimmy can butt heads sometimes because me and him have been the constant members, pretty much since the beginning. So we're like brothers, though, you know what I mean? So me and Jimmy, we can fight some days but we love each other when it comes down to it,
Yeah.
But that's just like, he's like my road wife, it's like, I mean, I've been in a band with this guy for 35 years. I knew him longer than that, so I knew him way before that. I was a roadie for his old band Shell Shock. So like, so I've been, it's just one of those things, but we all get along for the most part, and we make each other laugh all the time. And we just like to have fun, really. Like our albums are so dark and our music's dark and the lyrics are dark, but we just like to have fun,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah. What about looking over your own life, just in general, and also your career as well? What are the biggest lessons you think you've learned?
Don't do drugs. Maybe. Don't drink, black out every single day. That's what I used to do. I don't do that anymore. But yeah, I mean, those are I'm being funny, trying to be funny. But no, there's just I love touring. I love being in a van. It's like it can be miserable sometimes, but you just do it for the love of the music. So
yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Were you ever, just with some of those issues you had with drugs and alcohol, did ayahuasca, the psychedelic, did it ever? Yeah.
I like psychedelics, but I've never done ayahuasca. I've done, ecstasy and ketamine and lots of LSD. We all used to take tons of LSD back in the day.
Yeah. I remember reading about you talking about some of that stuff. I just, if ever, just as a recommendation, ayahuasca is just next level. It's unlike anything else. It's like the mother. It's the high priestess. So she sits above everything.
Yeah,
And I just find anything that
I've read all about it.
yeah, it's magnificent, mate. It's incomparable, and it puts you on a very different frequency in life.
I would love to try it. I would love to try it. You've done it then.
Yeah, I've done a few circles, and I would drink at my worst. It was 2 bottles a week, 2 bottles of vodka a week, and stopped. Bang on a dime, just after my second
I've
circle.
heard that.
Yeah.
Well, that can happen too with ketamine therapy and MDMA therapy and stuff too. They do that, but I would like to try ayahuasca someday.
Yeah.
I don't drink like I used to at all. I mean, I'll have a glass of wine here and there, but I used to drink at least a bottle of vodka a day. And I was touring with 2 bands at one point, Corrections House, which is another band I had with Scott from Neurosis and some other friends. And so I would tour with that band, drinking the whole time, come home, go straight out with Eyehategod, then come home, go back out with Corrections House. So it was just, it destroyed my liver. I had a transplant.
I don't think people. Yeah, I mean, thank God you're still here with us, Mike. Really, I don't think people realise how difficult it is to give up drinking when you're caught in the cycle.
No, it's bad. It's really it's not easy just to stop. Your body rejects that. You have to have a drink. That's alcoholism. It's a disease. It's not good.
Sorry, I just broke up there. Sorry, yeah.
I think you're frozen.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
I think my Wi-Fi. Yeah, my Wi-Fi may be bad.
That's all good. We can, if you've got time to continue talking, I certainly do. Are you cool to keep on having a chat?
Yeah, a few more minutes. Yeah, that's cool.
Sure, gotcha. What about some of your personal goals and aspirations for the future? What do you hope happens next?
Well, I hope we can go in the studio and record, and get out another album before, long. Like I said, it always takes us a while in between albums to write, so they're writing stuff now. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
But personally, for me, I just I have a book. I wrote a book of like poetry and lyrics and stuff, and trying to write another book now that's going to be poetry and lyrics. It's like dark poetry stuff, and also I want to throw some biographical stuff in there too. So I don't know. Those are just some short-term things I'm trying to get into.
Yeah.
But I just want to keep touring as well, as many places as we can possibly play before we're too old and we can't, so we need to just keep moving right now.
I'm hearing you. Yeah. Well, talk about writing. I mean, you have a heck of a life story. Are you planning on a biography at some point?
Yeah. I've started it maybe a few times. It's kind of hard to remember a lot, and it's also hard to bring up those old feelings too. Sometimes that's the rough part of it, bringing up emotional things from the past. But I mean, I can get through that. It's just a matter of getting it done. I really want to do it. A biography. I think. I mean, so many people have demanded that I do it. Randy Blythe has told me that he's going to kick my ass if I don't write a book, so I really need to do that for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd love to read it. I write books, so I've just finished a biography of a Norwegian black metal musician, and there's just, you guys that have been on the road have the best tales. The stories that come out of it are just, as I say, manna from heaven for people like me, mate. Just reading it and wishing we were there with you.
Yeah, I read a lot of biographies, musicians of all types, not just punk or metal, just, blues musicians or jazz or anything. I just like reading those stories, Yeah. I need somebody to really help me organize a biography, like that's what I'm kind of looking for. Somebody to like not a ghostwriter, but somebody that can interview me and bring out the stuff. It's hard for me to sit down and just think of my life story, so that's another thing. I've not found the right person.
I'll make this my final question for you then, and it comes on the back of that chat, which is,
okay.
If you look back over your life and you've achieved many things, I'm sure when you meet the pearly gates, you'll be very proud of everything that you've accomplished. But what gives you the greatest sense of feeling of accomplishment when you look back over it all?
This band and recording all these albums, and we've toured the world, I mean, all that stuff is an accomplishment to me, I mean, we've played Indonesia, we've played Tasmania, we've played, Vietnam, Singapore. We've played so many the Philippines, like I could go on and on and on. All that stuff to me is like being a kid and wanting to be in a band, when you're a kid. I never thought that all this would happen, from this band that we didn't even really take 100% serious in the beginning. It's just that it's just insane when you think about it. Those are the most accomplishments. And, stop drinking with moderation now a little bit, if I do drink.
Yeah.
And just getting through all that stuff, that's an accomplishment, health issues and drug addiction and that type of thing. Trying to be a better person, just be more positive. That's an accomplishment for me. So,
I think we all view you not as a survivor, but as a thriver. There you go. You've twisted the script, and
well, thank you. Yeah,
you've thrived and you've made music, which is, and I know you hear these stories because you have to have, which is that you've made music that has helped people through the darkest moments of their life that they might not have survived.
Sure, I do hear those stories. Yeah,
very important stuff, mate.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for saying all that. I do have people that write all the time, and they're like, your music helped get us through, I was going to kill myself, or I was going to die from drugs or whatever. So that it's hard to believe that the music can do that, but I know how music is. It's just when you think about your own music doing that, but music's helped me that way too. The bands that I love, that's all helped me get through different times. So I understand it. Yeah, definitely. It's cool, man.
Yeah. Well,
cool
look forward to your shows here in Australia. I'll certainly be in the show, mate. As I say, I'll have my Coca-Cola up in the air and, virtually chink you from in the audience there. I can't wait to see you.
Sure, man. Maybe I'll talk to you there. It's good talking to you.
Likewise, brother. God bless, and thank you very much for the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
No worries.
Take it easy.
You too.
All right.
Catch ya.
See you later.
I hope you enjoyed that chat with the great Mike Nine Williams from Eyehategod. If you enjoyed that one, check out all my other episodes over at scarsandguitars.com or right here on YouTube or the podcast app from which you are listening through. It's all there, well over 800 and I think I'm right in saying 850, probably let's just say over 800 episodes. You won't be disappointed if you dive in. There's heaps of chats with the members of Morbid Angel, Death, Nocturnus, Obituary, Deicide, Megadeth, Testament. I've interviewed all the members of Testament. Yeah, just check it all out. It's all good stuff. My interviews in the past few years, I think, I've certainly improved as a storyteller and as somebody who can have a conversation. There's no doubt about that. But early on, a lot of my chats with the ex-Cradle of Filth members, they're what really put this show on the map. So if you like Cradle of Filth, check them out as well. All right, my name is Andrew Mackay Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until the next one, it's a goodbye for now.